jihwām, min nåma is Samuēl, and on þissem scēāwettinge, līkode Lindish eallem to kույðān, ahicgede to forsecgān, forhwōn ahicgede. Hi everyone, I'm Sammy, and in this video I'd like to tell you all about Lindish and why I invented it. First of all, I'm sorry I've had to use an avatar for this video. I'm not very tech savvy and my attempt at proper image capture ended up with a jerky blurred image. I've recorded this on Cyberlink UCam and I don't know how to alter the quality on it, so if there's anyone out there who can help out or advise me what I'm doing wrong, I'd really appreciate it. So, why did I invent Lindish? Well, Lindish is basically an artificial language based closely on Anglo-Saxon or Old English. I already know several other languages such as German, Dutch, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Hebrew and Aramaic, so I know my way generally around languages and how languages work. At school, I learned basic Anglo-Saxon for English literature class. We read Beowulf and the Book of Genesis. However, I wouldn't claim to be any kind of expert in Old English, so if I make statements that are factually incorrect about Old English, please correct me, politely. As to why I started this project, the main reason was because in 2012 I developed post-traumatic stress disorder after being bullied at work over a long period of time. Due to inadequacies in the NHS mental health care system, I'm still waiting for treatment. I've been told the waiting list is a year long as at October 20th, 2015. I also have Asperger's syndrome, so I apologise if my tone of voice is a little bland. To take my mind off things, I decided to invent a language, purely as a mental exercise. I found it relaxing and engaging. I chose Old English as my source language purely because it was far easier than inventing a language from scratch. I could have done that, but it would have taken longer and it would have been less relaxing and more taxing. As I looked around on the internet for advice on Old English grammar and vocabulary, I soon found that the study of Old English is increasingly being populated by right-wing racists who seek to identify with some kind of fabled purity of the English race. These individuals, although thankfully in the minority, have a tendency to keep out non-whites and non-English. So for me, as a Sri Lankan Jew, it really wasn't on, even though I'm 18% English and English is my mother tongue. As I say, while this racism doesn't apply to everyone who studies Old English, I still wanted to distance myself completely from them, giving me another reason to create a version of Old English which the racists couldn't hijack. I guess that's because of my PTSD. I just didn't want another fight. The study of Old English is also populated by a lot of people who are heavily into the warrior culture of the pagan Angles and Saxons. I personally have no interest in battles, fighting, killing, or getting drunk. It really doesn't interest me. It also ignores the fact that the Anglo-Saxons later became an intensely spiritual people, and for those Anglo-Saxons who were interested in preserving their language for posterity, learning and literature was an important part. And I realised that the Anglo-Saxons were Catholic Christians, but still the spiritual aspect, the spiritual approach to culture interests me far more than fighting, swords, killing, that kind of thing. For all these reasons, instead I wanted Lindish to be a language banner for those who reject racism and right-wing politics. I wanted it to be a badge for those who like the Old English language, but who also have an interest in the good and positive qualities of British culture, like fair play, free thinking, democracy, and indeed the positive qualities of the human spirit. If you learn and speak Lindish, it means that you are for fair play, freedom and democracy. It means you are for tolerance, inclusivism, egalitarianism, and are accepting of differences. So Lindish is not for white English racists. It's for anyone of any background or culture who loves the English language and the history of its development. If certain people want to embrace the brutish warrior culture of pagan Old English, then a Lindish speaker will embrace the intellectual and spiritual ideals of later Anglo-Saxon. Who knows what the English language and culture might have become if it hadn't experienced the violent invasions of the Vikings and the Normans? Yes, there are many who like battles, wars and killing, but there are also those who don't. At the moment, if we like Old English, then we also have to participate in recreations of war. Why should we? So if you were to learn Lindish, I can surmise that it will make it easier for you to learn Old English. If you know Lindish well, then learning Old English will be a doddle. Lindish is to Anglo-Saxon as Afrikaans is to Dutch, if that comparison helps at all. The similarity, it's more than the level of difference, say, between American English and British English, but not quite the difference between English and Dutch, for example. As to why I called it Lindish, I chose the name Lindish in honour of Lincolnshire, where I've lived most of my life. While I'm not a born and bred yellow belly, I came here when I was 8 months old. I grew up here and this is my home. I love Lincolnshire history and heritage and what it has to offer. With regard to the name Lindish, the Lindisc were an Anglish tribe of Lincolnshire. Lindish is the adjective pertaining to them. Now we don't know what the dialect specifically of the Lindisc was like. We can assume that it was close to the East Mercian dialect of Anglo-Saxon. However, my invention of Lindish was never intended to be any kind of recreation of the dialect or even the accent of the Lindisc. I called it Lindish purely in honour of Lincolnshire, where it was invented. That's it for now. In my next video, I'll talk about some of the reformations and innovations of Lindish compared to Old English. Oedd mi'n afterym scēāwettinge, wesa ddihala. Until my next video, take care and be well.